Final hour overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Get to a parlay courtesy of FanDuel a little bit later in the hour based on the sports equinox. And I don't know who labeled that, but it's getting annoying to continue to say because the NHL's playing NFL, MLB, NBA. Big four in North America all going tonight. Only the 30th time that's ever happened. And it'll be the only
Doogie was
time
quick
this year.
to point that out on his notes.
Yes.
Good job, Doogie.
Yep, on top of it. So we're going to have different bets from all four sports in our best bets a little bit later this hour.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. The Monday nighter tonight, the Raptors are in action. This is one you got to get. Portland's they're turning things over, right? It's a new era with Dame no longer there.
From what? Like winning the odd playoff series?
Yeah, basically not really doing much for a long time, and now they're going to do less than that. So, if the Raptors, you want to be serious, you're coming off a game like the one they saw on Saturday where Nick Nurse came back. I thought, the buildup was appropriate. He got his flowers. He got everything. And I like the fact that Nick was honest before and after the game.
Yeah, it was time to go.
Yeah, he's like, it's time. It was it. Like, I'm happy in Philly. They're happy without me here. I was here for 10 years. It was awesome. It was great to be walking around the city Friday night. Awesome spot. I'll always love it. See you later.
Yeah,
that's sports, man.
It could not be a better response from a coach leaving town.
Yeah.
Like, I loved it too. Perfect.
It's great. See you later. It doesn't always have to be bad blood. Sometimes it can be mutual.
Dude, your boy Dwayne Casey, he still hated, like years after, hated coming in here.
Right.
And it was personal for him.
That was he won Coach of the Year and got fired. And his assistant coach, who learned from him, took over and won a.
And then they acquired Kawhi like an hour later.
Yeah.
That one I can understand to a certain
got
extent.
backdoored, man. Like, that was bad news.
Yeah. That one stung.
Yeah.
That one hurt.
I forgot about the Kawhi, like literally as the ink is drying on Nick Nurse's contract, like literally.
Yeah, that was that one I can reason with is Dwayne Casey having a little bit of a gripe.
I did think he even had the comment somewhere. You don't think I wanted a shot at that roster? Come on.
No, I'm pretty sure he did. I think he was forthright with that. That would have been fun to take a crack at it with Kawhi and
that's a good point, Brian.
Danny Green and Marcus Gasol and listen, they won a championship, but Nick Nurse, he got the keys to the car and he drove it all the way to the promised land. And what's important is now for the Raptors to make sure that Nurse doesn't turn into the next Cito Gaston. And what I mean by that is 30 years later, we're still referencing him as the only guy that could do it, right? You gotta find the next guy that can find a way to drive a championship. And, the Jays have been chasing it now for 30 years. Cito won back-to-back, and it's still a reference point. He's the only guy to ever win a World Series for that team.
Let me ask you this. From what you've seen of the Raptors so far.
Oh, no, they're not even close to championship
contention. Well, I was just going to say.
No, not even close.
Well, I didn't want to say anything, but when you referenced them, when you said, if they want to be real deal, it's like, well, maybe they're not real deal.
No, they're not. I mean, let's be reasonable with what they are. The win total out of Vegas was like 37.5. That's suggesting, it's telling you that they're a middle-of-the-pack team at best, possibly a low end of the middle of the pack. And listen.
I think one of the more pressing issues, and you talked about it earlier, is what the hell is Pascal Siakam and what is he for the future?
I was surprised on Saturday night watching him play how much he was lacking aggression, how few times the ball was in his hand.
He was a guy.
He took 8 shots. Like, he had 8 shot attempts. I want to say 5 of them were from 3. Like, he never got inside the paint. He was not aggressive. He barely got to the line. And this guy is a max player that wants a super max deal. Like, it's not going to happen if he's playing like that. Like, if Siakam is not assertive and a star player, they are going to win 25 games this year. Like, literally, they'll win 25 times. The only way they get to 40.
What do you think Masai does with that? I don't think he puts up with that too long.
No, but then is he going to walk and now you get nothing for him? Like, it's difficult
well, that's
to
been
make
the MO around here for the last couple of years. Just walk it out the door.
Yep.
See you later.
Yep, it has, and the team has got increasingly worse. Since Lowry left, they're worse.
Yeah,
Fred, they're possibly worse. We'll see. They have a tough time creating offense, and that's the thing. We took Lowry for granted. Like, Lowry was capable of putting up offense. and he would drive offense, and the ball was in his hand all night. And, since he left, there's been a drop-off and a drop-off and a drop-off, and we'll see what they've got tonight, with Portland in town. So Raptors, Portland tonight. You got the Lions at home against the Raiders, Monday Night Football. Team Owen Wilson, they have picked Detroit -7. You're on the Lions -7 tonight. So we'll get to our best bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. Something to chew on brought to you by Boston Pizza later in the hour. But joining us now here on the Maple Toyota Hotline, here's our TSN Hockey Insider, Chris Johnston. How you doing, CJ?
I'm doing well, boys. How are you?
We're doing very well.
Cowboys win yesterday.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Yeah.
I got to give him credit. CeeDee Lamb, man, looks legit. Dak looked legit.
Oh, here we go. You guys just pump your own tires, and then they'll just shart next weekend. You know it.
I know that O was just peeled to his couch watching that, cheering them on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I hate
Great
them.
game.
I hate the Twitter updates. I hate all of it.
They got a
Look
tough
how
one
good the
next week.
Cowboys are. Who do they play next
I
week?
think they
Philly?
got Philly next week, don't they, CJ?
Your best player, CJ, was just on his own podcast pumping up Philly, how good they were. How does that look? They'll get crushed.
They do have Philly, and I don't have a lot of confidence that they won't get crushed. So I'm just going to back out of this conversation right now.
Yeah, at
Sounded
Philly
like Ilya
next week.
Samsonov.
That's exactly where I was going, Noodles. It's a perfect layup. We were discussing Ilya Samsonov and his disposition, his media approach, I guess his honesty, which I will give him credit for, CJ. But after every start, it's this kind of woe is me, I'm awful, I don't like where I'm at type of approach. I'm surprised by it. Like, what do you make of it, and how big of a concern might this be for Sheldon Keefe and company?
Well, I'll say at least he's consistent, right? I mean, we certainly saw it from him last year. And so, I think I'd be a little bit more alarmed if it was out of nowhere and a guy started going down this direction. You might wonder about kind of the mind frame he's in. But I do think to a certain extent, as far as I can tell, this is part of who he is. Now, how that plays over a long season in Toronto, there's expectations on him this year, which, I think in a lot of ways, I'm sure he had his own expectations last season, but he wasn't having a lot of those applied to by folks like you and I. This is a different kind of animal, and he's even got a younger player behind him who's pushing him and starting to grab some of the starts that we might have thought he'd be getting at this point in the season. So, I don't know if we're at the point where it's full on concern, and because he did play so well last year and he was still like this then. I'm not totally thinking inclined to make too much of it, but we can't ignore the fact that he's been his own harshest critic. And that the season has been off to a tough start, and it's not going to get easier to him until he plays better and starts finding that rhythm. That's going to be hard to do when he's not playing.
CJ, and I'll loop you in, Noodles, too. Like, how much more if Woll continues? Like, how much more does Woll have to do what he's doing? I know we're only not even 10 games into the season, but is it like if this is another 10 games, it's like Joseph Woll, you're the starter? I don't even know how to say his last name anymore. It's just gotten into my head. I can't do it. I don't know what the pronunciation.
Your mental block.
It's just Woll, or I don't know, but it's
Brick
Joseph.
Wall, buddy. Brick Wall.
Brick Wall. Go with Wall. It's all good. Everyone knows.
Yeah. So how much more of it does he has to do? Where it's like, here's the keys. We're not gonna give you the traditional starter minutes, but you're our guy if we have a big game.
Well, I think he's there now. I mean, if things go well tomorrow against LA, I mean, the big game at this week would be Thursday's game in Boston, and I would expect that you would see him go back there. So I think he's at the point now where he's done at least to open the door, done enough to open the door, and now it's not automatically going to the other guy. And as long as he keeps playing well, I think he'll be in that position. But I think it's got to be a long track record before we're saying he's got to start every big game and things like that. And frankly, with the way the Leafs have sort of built things out this year, I don't know if they'll ever get to that point. I mean, I guess it will be nice if that's the case, but this is probably a 2-goalie team in the true sense of the word for most of this season. And, that'll give us lots to talk about when the playoffs get closer, because it's probably not until like game 60 till I want to even start really talking about who's playing the playoff games and stuff like that, because I just think that there's going to be natural ebbs and flows, and Woll is still finding his way here in the NHL. He's been awesome, certainly not chipping away at his performance so far, but I don't think it's unreasonable to think that he might have some downs as well. at some point during the season.
Sure.
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
I agree. Thing is, though, he's literally started 3 games this year, like 3, right? And he came in relief in the 4th one, which did Tampa win. So he's 3-1. I think it's still 20 games, but I agree. He's in a tandem situation anyways. So the valuable games, you go with the guy who's playing better, and that's Joseph Woll right now. So he gets an opportunity against LA. If he shines and they win, then he goes back in another critical game. But I still think this is going to be a tandem situation all year long. And you're right, game 60, game 70, where, okay, who's getting the keys to the car game 1 of the playoffs? That's where, it really, that's what you look to build up to. But, it's just too small a sample size right now to just go, it's his net and not looking back. He has the ability to be a good player in this league, but, you've got to go and prove it too, right?
Absolutely.
And I don't think the competition's bad at all. I mean, I don't think if it goes back and forth, that's probably a good thing for the team, big picture.
Right.
Well, there could be some, I wouldn't say challenging for positioning or depth chart positions on the defensive side of things, but Jake McCabe's banged up. It sounds like they got a positive diagnosis on that, and he should be returning to practice midweek, but who knows when he plays again. And Timothy Liljegren, who was banged up the other night, he practiced today, so that seems like a good sign. But if you get to a scenario where the depth begins to be challenged on defense, how big of a concern could that be for the Leafs? And furthermore, here we go again. Mark Giordano's got to play a lot of minutes. We've seen that the bench has been shortened due to injury the last couple of games, and Gio's got to go over the bench. I think he's played well. I think he's handled it well. But it was the same thing we discussed a lot last year, where he's 40 years old. He's literally the oldest player in the league. And if this guy's going to play 21, 22, 23 minutes a night, at some point that's going to be a concern. And that's going to flare up. And I'm not sure how you can control it during the game. But big picture, how big of a emphasis do you think that is for Sheldon Keefe?
Well, for sure, it's something to work through. And it's funny, it feels like Groundhog Day. I mean, that was a good November, December story last year when it felt like the whole blue line was out injured at that point in time. And Giordano had a really inspired stretch. I think it was 8 or 9 games in a row, plus 20 minutes and above, and things were going well. They were finding ways to win those games. But then let's remember how it was at the end of the season, where unfortunately, it seemed like there wasn't a ton of gas left in the tank for someone like Giordano. So I think optimally and in an ideal world, you want to manage his minutes at some point, not be putting too much on him, but it might be here, for a short period of time, depending how these injury situations shake out, that's what they're going to have to do. I think it's how long it lasts, maybe before it becomes a real worry. The fact that it doesn't seem like it's too serious for McCabe, and that you're not talking about extensive absences. That it's probably something they can manage. But like a lot of teams in the league, the Leafs options on the 7th or 8th or 9th defenseman, because remember they're down Connor Timmins too from his injury in training camp. You're really patched it together. For the most part, when those guys are in your lineup, and looks like that's what the Leafs are going to have. And so I think that the third pairing probably isn't going to play too much, and someone like Giordano is going to see his minutes elevated.
CJ, what do you think the options are potentially in Calgary if this thing doesn't get turned around? Like, what would the sense be? And Hayes brought it up earlier, Noodles, the new rink coming in, and you'd like to be up and cooking for that whenever that's going to happen. But why sell the fans a bill of goods that's false and telling people that you believe in the team and this team can win when it doesn't look close right now?
It doesn't, and it really feels like it's teetering on a knife's edge in a sense. I mean, you go back a week or two from from where we're standing today.
What exactly is teetering? Like what?
Well, what decisions you make, and
oh, yeah.
how do you approach this? I mean, look, they were having discussions with Noah Hannafin on a long-term extension, and I'm not saying that will or won't happen. I don't think a 3 or 4 game losing streak alone changes that, but it changes some of probably the feeling around talks like that on both sides. If you're the team, you're probably like, man, do we want to go into another long-term commitment, with any player at this point in time when we already have a number of those, and do we have to consider a change of direction? Probably if you're in Noah Hannafin's camp, you're thinking, do I really want to sign this contract? Is this a team that is going to go right into a rebuild? And so, I don't know that decision has to be made in October, but it's almost November, and we start to get to the point where you're not calling it just the start of the season, or you're not chalking it up to small sample sizes or some of the other things that can maybe get a team through a rough 2 or 3 week stretch to start the year. And so I think that the level of urgency is extremely high in Calgary, because I don't see an easy answer. I mean, they still have a lot of good players, and again, a lot of those players are maybe on the wrong side of 30 with big contracts, and there's not necessarily an abundance of easy guys to move there that would make a lot of sense. And so it would probably be a painful teardown. I mean, look what you've seen in some other markets in the league where they've got to that point. I look at San Jose, for example, who are right back at the bottom of the standings this year. They haven't sniffed the playoffs for a couple seasons. Like, it can be a long, slow decline for a team. And I realize the Sharks, climbed a little higher than this sort of current version of the Flames did. But, the point is I think sometimes a little bit like Winnipeg's trying to do, you just have to try to tough it out, man. And so I don't know how it's going to go. You've got a new general manager. Obviously Craig Conroy's been there as part of the management team, but now he's got his hands on the wheel, and you've got a new head coach. And I think you just try to keep it calm as long as you can, and let things sort themselves out. And I don't think that they're as bad as the record is. I'll say that much. It's just it's hard to sell that to anybody when the season started as poorly as it has.
Mm-hmm. Well, they missed the playoffs last year, but barely. It's not like they finished with they didn't finish with 65 points last year, but
exactly.
I think the concern is who they're building around. Where based on the money, it's supposed to be Huberdeau, Kadri, I guess Lindholm,
Backlund.
Backlund, Markstrom. I guess Hanifin, Tanev, but it's just the way they're playing. That doesn't scream like a stud core.
It's weird that so many of them are off by that much.
Exactly. Like, it's just, what is going on? Like, this Huberdeau fall is almost unprecedented. Like, the guy's 30. He's not 38. And he had 115 points 2 years ago.
You said it. I thought we weren't saying it anymore. It's beyond us in the past.
No. Well, it's just a fact, though. I mean, the guy, like, watching him play this year, he is really, really non-existent on the ice. I mean,
yes,
that's
the only way to describe it.
Yeah, he's non-existent. He doesn't even factor in. There's just nothing about his game that scares anybody.
Non-threatening,
and he's 8 games into an 8-year deal. I don't know what you do. Like, if he's going to snap out of this, he's not just going to be this bad, but I don't think he's going to all of a sudden be a 100-point guy again. Like, this is 2 years. What if Florida saw something? What if it wasn't just Tkachuk? What if Florida was like, this guy, we got to, this is peak. He hit it, and we got to move, and we got to take advantage of it, and they did. Because that trade is starting to look like one of the great trades in NHL history. It really is.
Yeah, and it's funny, if you go back to the day, I think a lot of people, were applauding it from the Calgary, and a lot of that was due to the fact that, Matthew Tkachuk had, wanted out of Calgary to a degree, or wasn't willing to sign a long-term extension there at the time, and there was a limited number of places he would, and so it was a difficult trade for Trey Living to be making, under those circumstances. But, I'm with you. I don't see an easy answer. It's funny you mentioned, too, there, Hayes, Lindholm sitting there. I mean, he's not signed. He's the one guy that there doesn't seem to be any traction towards signing, and not necessarily the be all and end all, but then at some point we'll shift to, do they have to trade him? It's hard to imagine wanting him to walk away for nothing. I mean,
well, how could you watch what he's doing out there right now, CJ, and say, I got to get this guy locked up?
Well, no one looks
he's in that mix too.
I mean, does anyone look good on their team?
No.
No, that's what the weird thing is. They all look the same, and it's like, how could so many good players who are looked at throughout the league as good players be off by that much? It's just it's mind-boggling.
I'm with you. Well, and it's a group too that obviously has been pretty vocal about wanting rid of their coach last year, and that
happened.
And so my point is, no, but now you move on, and now it's someone else there, and I feel like that there should be onus on those players then to find a way to make it work with another coach, or maybe the coach wasn't the problem.
Well, yeah, I mean, at a minimum, you can't use that excuse. Right. Like it's a tough start. And Huska, he's trying to stay positive. He said that after the game. He's a positive guy, and You know, he referenced his goalie, Markstrom, playing well. But it's a tough scene in Calgary. Like, it's a really tough scene in Calgary. And in Edmonton, they needed that win last night. They deserve all the credit in the world, yet it almost comes with the understanding it's like they beat a team that's playing horribly right now. So let's see what they've got when Dallas, I think, comes to town on Thursday. Like, that'll probably really prove that Edmonton's back and chugging again, which I don't think will surprise anybody. What do you anticipate the reaction to be like in Winnipeg for Blake Wheeler's return tonight?
Well, I mean, I'm wondering how many people are going to go in the building. Unfortunately, you know, part of the story in Winnipeg this year has been the attendance and how tough it's been to sell a ticket. But I think those that are there I think at this point will give him a pretty good round of applause. I mean, if you look at the way it's gone since the Jets returned, you know, when the Thrashers moved there, I mean, he's probably the very strong case, the most impactful, important player they've had in that period of time. He was with the organization right from that period of time till he was bought out in the summer. And so, you know, that kind of tenure, I think we were, you know, something that generates some buzz there. And I'd be surprised if the fans did anything but give him a big ovation here tonight.
We'll see what comes of it, CJ. Should be a fun one in Winnipeg tonight. The Sports Equinox, you know, all big four sports going tonight. It should be a beauty. Enjoy it, pal, and we'll do it again soon. Thank you for this.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you.
There's Chris Johnston, our TSN hockey insider. Big Cowboy fan. Cowboys at the Eagles next week. So, man, next week's slate of NFL games are awesome. Awesome. And you got the CFL playoffs start next week as well. The Argos wrap up their campaign 16-2. What a season. What a season.
Unbelievable.
Historically great. And now it's like Grey Cup or bust, like the definition of Grey Cup or bust.
Well, yeah, you go that record, you have to win.
You got to spank teams.
It's mandatory.
Yes.
Well, they get a bye to the East final, don't they?
Yes, they do. The East will be at home, and then they'll go to the Grey Cup. TSN 1050's Leafs lineup is your chance to win Leaf tickets every week, all season long. Every weekday, we'll announce a current or former Maple Leaf player, and on Fridays, you'll have a chance to call in and name that Leaf, or name the Leaf lineup from the week. Today's player of the day is Todd Gill. Your boy, wow. Todd Gill. Yes, Todd Gill, number 23. Week we're giving away a pair of tickets to see Leafs Flames November 10th. There you go. You can go see Jonathan Huberdeau up close and personal. Turn the puck over.
I hope he gets it together because it's not gonna be fun.
It's gonna be so loud. Yeah, exactly. He's too good of a player to play like this. Yeah, like he's I don't know where his confidence is gone.
He's a game away from getting booed every time he touches a puck.
Yeah,
like he was that unnoticeable yesterday. Like he'd get the puck and make these weird little saucer plays to nobody, and it would be like out of the zone. And I'm like, I screamed at the TV. I said, "What are you doing out there?
Yeah,
you're too good for that crap."
Easy to check, turnover machine.
Oh yeah, easy to check. Like there's an indictment on a player. Easy to check. That's a tough comment.
It is, but I think it's true. I mean, like watching last night, watching him through the season. I mean, he's pretty easy to check right now.
Yeah.
You asked, this is a hypothetical of all hypotheticals. Last year around this time, you asked if the Oilers.
I did.
You asked me if the Oilers had the chance to buy out Jack Campbell and it just be gone, or go back and reset and never have signed him. You think they would have done it? And I said at the time no, because Ken Holland is a veteran GM that has to believe in his signing 2 weeks into a season. If I were to ask you that question about Jonathan Huberdeau, what do you think the answer would be? You get out from under it right now, shake hands, go your separate ways. Think the Flames would do that?
Of course. That's scary, man. They would say, check, please. Thank you very much for your time. Like, is there any way, think about this. I don't know how, is there any way that this guy could circle back and end up back in Florida, like at some kind of discounted, weird three-way trade where it's like he's a Florida Panther again? Because I'm telling you, this guy got drafted at 18, first overall. He is used to Fort Lauderdale, Ferraris, and the beach, and the convertible. And that trade just devastated him, man. I'm telling you, it got him good. And how do we get him back?
Yeah, I'll grant you that. I think that's 100% reasonable and likely the case from a year ago.
Like, he was crushed because him and Barkov were cooking with oil.
Yeah.
But don't kid yourself, Barkov misses him too. But it's just he's making do without him. He went to the Stanley Cup Finals, but
They went to the
hell are you
finals
gonna-
without him. You're right.
What are you going to do with Huberdeau locked in for? You just said 8 games into an 8-year pact at 10.5.
This is the
I don't know.
the
I'm not going there.
hashtag. It's 1 game, but
Yeah.
it's 8 games, but it just when you see how poor. Let's not forget last year happened and it was awful. He had 55 points, right?
Yes.
So that was the throwaway. You got traded. It was a shock to the system. Daryl
Wouldn't
Sutter.
you think he would come into this season hopping and jumping?
I
and
thought he'd
making
be a lot
move?
better than this, for sure. I thought he'd be a lot better than this. It's difficult to see, 8 years from now, he's still in Calgary, doing his thing. It's wild when you consider how poorly it started. And listen, Kadri's not far behind him. We love Nazem, but he signed a 7-year deal at decent money. He's in year 2. And, 5-on-5, it's not exactly
Not
enthralling
happening.
stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Turn a like into Leaf tickets by following TSN 1050 on Instagram. This week we're giving away a pair of tickets to see the Leafs take on the Lightning November 6th. There you go. Now
that'll
we're
be a good
talking, man.
game.
Multiple times this week and get tickets on this show. Follow us on Instagram at TSN 1050. Like our latest Leafs giveaway post. Tell us who you'd bring to the game in the comments. We'll announce a winner Wednesday right here on OverDrive. Okay, so this is the place to be if you're looking for Leaf tickets. We love it. Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel, still to come. Leafs Kings tomorrow night. Todd McLellan, the head coach of the Kings. He's in town. He'll join us next. All right, something to chew on brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. From touchdowns to tie bites and puck drops to pizza, BP's elite lineup of apps, wings, and ice cold beers, always dialed in for game time. Hustle into your local BP tonight. This is the definition of a Boston Pizza night. You got hockey, football, basketball, baseball, little soccer going on too, MLS Cup. You got so much going on. Everything going on. Everything you could possibly want. It's a beautiful night in sports. And
I'm voting we do a show from the Boston Pizza up in Collingwood.
Ooh, I've been
I would
there
do that.
a couple times.
Count
Great
me in.
spot. Great spot. Yes, we can get up there. Right, little
Set
snow.
up shop in the bar area.
Yeah.
Little sleepover at O-Dogs. and
I
we have
love it.
Me,
I love
us three, Doogie, JP.
Yep. The whole crew coming up. It's right there off that main strip, right? It's on that main street. Yeah,
yes,
I've
it
been there.
is.
Pencil
Let's
me
do a
in.
show right in the bar area one Friday afternoon.
I love it. Maybe hit the slopes in the morning and then head over there in the afternoon, right?
Not sure about that. Are we going to do that?
Well, why not? We could ski. I could ski with
Wasn't
you.
there
I know
a time
you're
where you were like a
snowboarder, but-
snowboarder? Oh, like you bought all the equipment?
Hey, I
and all
just
that?
didn't think that would have been in play. I thought you would have wanted to belly up right before the show. I don't know what you'd want to do.
Well, what time do the hills open? Like 8 a.m. You could probably get out there, right?
Hey, me, you, JP, Doogie, and Noodles flying down the slopes. I love it.
I
I
could
want
see
to see
that.
JP just tucked.
I could see
all the
JP
way.
in a one-piece snowsuit,
No
absolutely
bucket
carving.
and flying down the hill.
JP
Goggles.
tumbling down the hill, possibly, but it's all good. JP's a man of the people up in Collingwood. I think he'd get a lot of support up there.
Let's set it up right from the bar area.
Sure.
Boston Pizza will do a show live up there.
Well, that place, you go up there in the winter on a Friday, it's probably buzzing. Probably,
Dude, it's
Yeah,
hopping.
packed.
We could
Yeah.
have a great crowd in there.
yeah, you really would. The Collingwood, the locals, you get a lot of people coming up from the city. You get a clash. We'd be right in
Giveaways,
between.
whole nine.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential there. I like that idea. But, we were asking people online, like, where's your focus at? Because there's so many options tonight. I think I'll be Raptors, Monday Night Football, Game 3 World Series. I want to see Blake Wheeler returning to Winnipeg tonight. There's a lot of games in the NHL, a lot of games in the NBA. It's going to be great tonight.
I'm pot committed to the World Series. I just
Yeah.
can't keep my eyes off it, and I'm kind of hate watching it. I'm not going to lie.
I'm telling you, Marino.
And don't Gurriel's
been very good, too.
Yeah, he's
Very
been
good.
doing his thing too. So I kind of been hate watching it.
Yeah, like if he, if Gurriel continues to play the way he's playing, he's a free agent, I believe, at the end of the year. He's not gonna get a massive deal, but this certainly helps his profile reaching free agency. But Marino, if he ends up winning World Series MVP, it's
I would really fire somebody over that.
it's just going to be one of the most shocking scenarios we've ever seen.
Don't you?
Like how
Wouldn't you guys
quickly.
admit, like, if someone pulled the trigger on that trade and later on that season, the guy that you traded away won the World Series MVP, wouldn't you fire a guy for that?
Well, I mean, it's firing.
Don't give me this Ross Atkins speak where it's like you gotta view the trade 5 years.
Well, that's completely ridiculous.
That is off the table, dude.
And that's a joke, and they know it because they gave away the best player. Right, Marino was their number one prospect, and they did it because they overthought it, and they thought Varsho will bring defense, and Varsho can hit home runs, and he's good in the clubhouse, and we need a different dynamic. I understand the reasoning, but they gave away the best player. And, not on top of that, they traded Teoscar Hernandez because they thought we need to go in a different direction. They got Eric Swanson, who had a good year, but he pitches relief. Marino could have been in the lineup. Gurriel could have been in the lineup. Obviously, Teoscar could have been in the lineup. That's probably going to fix a lot of your offensive woes this year.
No kidding.
A lot of your issues, and they swung and missed on those. But anyway, we'll get to our best bets brought to you by FanDuel in about 15 minutes. Caught up with Todd McLellan earlier this afternoon. The LA Kings are in town. They're playing the Leafs tomorrow night. We began by asking the head coach, a night off in Toronto, what's the plan tonight?
Well, we had a busy day today, obviously skating, practicing, getting ready for a tough match tomorrow, and it'll be a typical road night for a lot of us, dinner and to bed early. But the exciting thing about coming to Toronto for some players is family, and I'm sure many of them will be out there doing their thing.
Todd, is there any message for the media tomorrow? Sometimes when the Kings stroll through town, they like to pump something out, whether it's Kopitar's not getting enough love, Doughty should win the Norris. There's you kind of like sometimes the Western teams come rolling through and there's a message they want to pound out. Is there anything coming tomorrow?
Well, we just want to remember that you guys remember that we're part of the league way out west. I know you don't get to see us a whole lot at,
I hear you.
Midnight, but yeah, we're part of the league, and we feel like we have some pretty good players, but it's up to us to prove that tomorrow.
Yeah, you're definitely a part of the league, and that Pacific Division is we give a lot of attention to it. I'm sure you're not surprised by this, Todd. Generally, it's the team in Western Canada, right? The Oilers, the Flames. The Canucks, but also the Cup champs come out of your division. The Vegas Golden Knights, they're off to a great start. You guys just saw them over the weekend. Is it too early for you to be even focusing on what the other teams in your division are doing, or is it just simply focusing on your own team at this point?
Well, I think I'd be lying if I said we don't take a peek and aren't aware of what other teams are doing, but we have to focus on what we're doing right now. We haven't reached the double-digit game mark yet. We are a work in progress. We've got some things that we need to clean up, and then we've got some pleasant surprises. So I think it's still early enough to say that most teams are worrying about their own backyard and trying to put good games together consistently. And as the season goes by, we'll start looking where everybody's ending up and how we're going to reel teams in if we can or stay ahead of others.
Todd, you mentioned some pleasant surprises. What would that might be? Young players step forward, guys take expanded roles that you thought would take time?
Exactly. I think those are obviously the most obvious surprises. Alex Laferriere, guy that we didn't really have on our radar this year. We thought he would need a little bit more time. He's been a tremendous young player for us coming in and filling Arvidsson's shoes, if you will, when he got injured. But even team-wise, we've produced more offense than we thought we would. And that's doing it with a power play that isn't quite clicking yet, so we're happy with that. Goaltending, I know our numbers don't show it, but Cam Talbot has come in, and he's been a real good addition to our team right now. He's given us some real good nights when we needed it. And I'm not saying that's a surprise, but it's something that we're counting on this season. And then there's others, but right now those are the few.
When you talk about cleaning stuff up, does that drive you nuts? You got a pretty veteran team, but it seems like all coaches, whether it be once a month, I know the Oilers have had some struggles, Calgary as well. When you get to that cleaning up stuff with a veteran team, does it drive you nuts as a coach, or do you understand that regardless of how long guys have been in the league, there's always going to be that element?
Well, I think a little bit of both. It drives you nuts because you spend a lot of time and energy on it, and you think you just got over the hump and crack creeps in again, and you're starting over again. But I think the game has changed a little bit. I think that so many of the players in the lineup right now view themselves as offensive players, and there's nothing wrong with that. The makeup of rosters are different. The toughness on your fourth line's getting a little bit thinner. It's filled in with guys that think they're 20, 25 goal scorers. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. You get into the car, you drive to the game, and you want to score a goal. But there's two sides to the puck, or to the game, pardon me. There's game management skills that early in the year are a little erratic. And it is a long year, but the quicker you get to polishing up the details, the better chance you have at making the playoffs, making them comfortably, and then having success later on.
We're chatting with Todd McLellan, the head coach of the Kings. Kings in town playing the Leafs tomorrow night. And, you mentioned the veterans, the faces of your organization for better part of 15 years have been Kopitar and Doughty. And there's been a lot of turnover beyond them, but Kopitar's off to a good start. Got a point a game, 4 goals already. Doughty's already got 4 goals in 8 games. Like, how much relief can that be for you, Todd, and your staff when you're trying to introduce, new players, turnover, and you can look at 2 guys with 2 cup rings that have been there that long. They, I'm sure, are taking young players under their own wings.
They certainly are. They've done that, since I've been here, and obviously well before that. They are still outstanding players, production-wise, minute-wise, detail-wise. We're very fortunate to have them. And they're not stale. They don't, they're not just putting in time. They want to win again, and they're willing to give up a little bit to do it. So a real good leadership. And let's face it, if we didn't get that from these 2 players, we have almost a quarter of our cap tied up in them. Our organization would be in trouble. So they're delivering on a nightly basis, and we're real fortunate to have them.
Todd, by my math, I think this is year 16 as a head coach in the National Hockey League, not including, I think, 5 in the minors and a couple as an assistant as well. What is the biggest difference you've seen over time here since when you took over a National Hockey League team to where you're at right now?
Well, I think hockey's kind of matched the world, where there's some things that are accepted and unaccepted now that weren't in the past, and there's nothing wrong with that. Players have a bigger voice. They are much stronger as individuals and as a group. So that's the part away from the game and in the locker room. And on the ice, I mentioned earlier when we were speaking that I think there's a way more of an offensive attitude that players show up with. I think the skill development in individuals and collective pairs and groups of players is way beyond what we used to have in Houston Noodles when you were there. I think that the goaltending is a little more advanced.
A lot better when I was there, put it that way, Todd.
Well, we were very fortunate to have a young goaltender, Noodles, when you were there, and you did a real good job for us.
There you go. There's a little tire pump on the way out. We love it. We'll take it.
Good job, Noodles.
Yeah, attaboy, Noodles. Your heyday in Houston. We'll never forget it.
Exactly.
Leafs Kings tomorrow night down at Scotiabank Arena. Enjoy it being in town and, of course, being in Eastern Canada. As always, Todd, it's great having you on. We appreciate it. Good luck tomorrow night.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
There he is, the head coach of the Kings, Todd McLellan. It'll be fun seeing LA tomorrow night. Kopitar getting off to a good start. Fiala's a stud. Doughty's been good. Cam Talbot, he's been good. Pierre-Luc Dubois coming back to town. He's got a long history against this team, clearly.
I think every time they've been in here the last couple of years, it's been like a high-scoring affair. Either win big or lose big for the LA Kings. It's been one or the other.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be interesting, right? The Leafs are coming off a 5-game road trip, and it's an 8 o'clock start.
Mm-hmm. It's fishy.
It sets up possibly pretty well for LA.
I don't even think it's West Coast. I think the first game back after any type of road trip is just a dog and pony show, man, and I don't know why.
Yeah, we'll see what they're made of.
I do not know why.
We'll see what the Leafs are made of tomorrow night. And then they're at Boston on Thursday. So this is a big week. You got Buffalo in town, I think, on Saturday night. So a couple of divisional games coming up, and it's interesting what McLellan said, and it's a straight fact. He's like, if Kopitar and Doughty, who take up 25% of their cap, don't play well, they're screwed.
Well,
like he didn't put it that, but he basically said that.
In other parts of the league.
Yeah.
You got guys taking up big chunk of the cap that aren't performing, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Very simple.
You're in big trouble. If 25% of your cap is tied up in a couple players and they don't perform, your organization is in big trouble.
Then you're done.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Not much
that's
to
the
do.
nature of the beast. That's the nature of the salary cap, and then the nature of star players, superstar players. We'll come back with our best bets brought to you by FanDuel. Tee up what is going to be a wild night in the world of sports. We'll do that next. All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. All right, we got a sports equinox parlay. That's the last time I'm going to use that term. Mm-hmm. Lions money line tonight. Raptors money line tonight. Max Scherzer 4+ strikeouts tonight. Connor Bedard 4+ shots tonight. Bedard and the Blackhawks are down in Arizona tonight. There you go. All 4 sports. Couple of games outright, couple of props. I love that parlay tonight. Happy sports equinox. That is the last time. Today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Today's best bets, again, powered by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today and find thousands of ways to play. Please play responsibly. 19 plus, physically located in Ontario.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Yes.
So with all of the, what did you just call it, the sports equinox going on?
Yes, yeah.
Will you lay eyes on the Chicago-Arizona hockey game tonight?
Eyes. Well, I'll lay some eyes. I'll be flipping around, Noodles. It will not be a 60-minute breakdown, though, I can
I'll
guarantee you
sniff.
that.
That's it.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah.
it. Like,
I'll
the
try to
kid-
time it where I click on it and Bedard's on the ice.
If I could watch a Bedard cam, that's what I would do tonight.
But the kid makes you want to sniff it, right?
Yes,
like
he
the
does.
kid makes you want to go, oh, take a peek over
Yeah,
there.
you're right. I want to see him play. I want to see him play. And, there are a few other guys in that game, but not many. That's about it. Not with football. Raptors playing tonight. Game 3 of the World Series. I mean, come on.
I know.
Gabby Marino could. I wouldn't be shocked if he hit a home run tonight. I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked. He's hitting third in the lineup tonight. Third. And Dalton Varsho, what's he doing right now? What's Ross
He's
Atkins
hunting.
doing? I don't know
He's
what they're
hunting.
doing. But anyway, it's all
Hate
good.
watching.
It's all good. You know what might happen one day? Ross Atkins. I could see him coming up with kind of a dummy account online and maybe submitting something for Dear Hayesy-B, saying a friend of mine made a decision last year. He made a trade, and he wants our advice on what could possibly happen in the future. And 6:30 on Friday, that's when we would suggest people do that, right? And we don't need to know exactly who you are, what your identity is. It can help. We had a scenario like that on Friday where we had someone submit something to our Twitter account at
Tragic,
OverDrive 1050, breaking down a scenario where this young gentleman, there he is, Doogie's in studio. It happened to be Doogie in the end. There was a scenario where a young man had bought tickets to go see the Raptors play. Nick Nurse was coming back to town. Pricey seats, Saturday night in Toronto. And his plan was to invite a girl that, he was fond of. Let's put it that way. Yes, he was liking her. And he invited her, and she had accepted. And then before the game, she pulled the chute and claimed that her parents had an anniversary that they had to celebrate that night. We thought that was some random person we'd never actually come in contact with.
We thought it was a loser.
We thought it was some guy who was getting stiffed, and we basically told that guy, she's not India, man, and you just kind of got to bite the bullet. And then we hit a break. I threw my feet up, and Doogie walked in the studio, and Doogie proceeded to say, that was actually me we were talking about. So, Doogie, can you explain your thought process as to why it was an alias for us to address that on Dear Hayesy-B?
And take us through the transaction. Like, how did you get gassed?
Well, boys, I thought it was necessary that you had to go through it. So I didn't want to fully say it at that point, but I wanted to give you my scenario and describe what happened. And
thinking that we would soften our
soften, but you guys kind of
advice.
jumped down it saying, well, she's not into you. She's not into you. And I
wish I could have that one back. I wish I could have that one
It's all
back.
good. It's all good.
We're joking around.
You didn't know.
So
but
it's entertainment.
what exactly did she say to you to not go to the game with you?
just some family obligations came up, and I totally respect that. But it was a couple days before. The tickets were already bought.
Right. And she was aware of that, right?
And she was aware of that, and unfortunately, it didn't work out for me. So maybe down the road in the future, but as of right now, I'm sitting there, went to the game, and
brought a buddy, had a good time.
Had a good time. Followed Noodle's advice to have a great time.
Okay,
and certainly did that. But
so you did listen to Dear Hayesy-B
I did
and the
listen.
advice.
I did listen, but
I think
it was
that's
it was
good.
a tough scenario.
So has she circled back, Doogie, and said, like, hey, what's up, Doogie?
How was the game, Doogie? Did you like the game? I wish I could have gone. I really regret not making it.
I can neither confirm or deny that I've had a text back, but Probably on the back.
I can neither confirm or deny that.
Doogie, just tell us.
feathers,
Did she
Doogie.
text you back or not?
No,
Did
I
she,
didn't
or-
receive a text back.
You got feathers on Saturday night?
I got a flush.
Yeah, so Doogie, this is where you're all grown up, man. This is love will do that to you, man. You're taking one square between the eyes.
Yeah.
She's not into it, and
Doogie,
you're gonna have to turn left and find someone
get this
else.
clip and say, "Look at this. I was on national. I'm a
That's
TV
what you
star."
do.
And you say, "How do you like me now?"
Yeah. How do you do exactly, Doogie? That's exactly what you do. You cut this up. You have the power to do that. Joe from the Bridge will help out. JP will help out. Slide into the DMs and just say,
Because we can't
chew
have
on
this.
that one.
We can't have you going through this. That's
Yeah.
nonsense. You're
Yeah.
Doogie
Yeah,
and you're the man, and it's never happening again.
Okay. I appreciate that, boys. Thank you.
All right.
I needed that advice.
okay.
you
So
go.
do you feel like we propped
You got to
up
say
here?
it one time. I'm Doogie. I'm the man, and it's never happening again with some conviction.
I'm Doogie. I'm the man. It's never happening again. I said
That's it.
it. Maybe it is.
Not a lot of conviction.
there it is. A
I
little
wouldn't
off.
suggest
Is there
a lot of
more? I need
conviction.
more.
Maybe the shoe
You
will be
need
on the other
more.
foot next time.
I'm Doogie.
Yeah, you're Doogie.
Yeah.
You're the man. And it'll never happen again.
Never happen again.
All right, there we go. Now
Love
it's been established. Doogie's all good. All right, Doogie, make sure next time you submit something, maybe let us know that you're the person
Give
we're
us
talking
some.
about.
Give us a heads
Give us
up.
a heads
We
up.
don't want to start torching some random creepazoid, and it's actually you.
And it's
okay.
actually you. All right, there he is. The world famous Doogie, right? Chew on that. Whoever she is, I bet you she's listening right now. She said, I can't believe it.
Watching.
Can't believe I missed out. All right, we're out of here. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes, including Doogie. Everyone for tuning in today, radio, TV, podcast, web. We appreciate it. We're back tomorrow at
Doogie, 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.
Yeah.